What's going on, my powerlifting people? In this video today, we're going to go over how you can improve your bench press strength specifically for beginners. So as you move from a beginner to maybe an intermediate to an advanced level, some of these terms can be arbitrary, but as you're moving along and getting stronger and stronger in a specific lift or just in general in the sport of powerlifting, your requirements of what you need to do to continue to get stronger will change a little bit as well. So in this video, we're going to specifically focus on people who are beginners who are looking to improve their bench press strength, and then we'll make other videos that will go over people that are in intermediate range and people that are in advanced or elite range. So one of the first things you want to focus on as a beginner to improve your bench press strength is to improve your programming. So when people want to get into powerlifting or even just strength training, they don't want to do a competition, but they want to improve the 1 rep max on their bench press, is they'll come in using a program that's not built for that. So if you want to have a goal of improving your bench press strength, then you need to look into programming that will set you up for that goal. So oftentimes you'll see people doing, bodybuilding style training or just in general higher rep training where they're working on other things like building muscle mass and even conditioning. Now, building muscle mass can be beneficial for 1 rep max strength, especially for a beginner. Putting on more muscle mass will be beneficial, but you also need to mix in the other things. So for example, you need to look if your program is actually having you do the bench press. If you're trying to improve your competition bench press with a pause on the chest, but you're not actually doing the competition bench press with a pause on the chest, then it's going to be more difficult for you to practice that technique, gain that skill, and then become stronger at that movement. So you have to look at your program and see, does it have the competition bench press, and how many times a week does it have it? Does it have it once a week, twice a week, maybe once a month? And then look into improving your programming to have that higher frequency. If you're not doing any bench press, you need to be shifting towards 1 times bench press. If you've already been doing 1 times bench press, maybe you want to shift towards 2 times bench press. But following a program that's doing like dumbbell flat bench and dumbbell incline and tricep kickbacks and things like that are not going to be as effective at improving your 1 rep max for the bench press compared to a program if you are doing the competition bench press 1 or twice a week on top of these other things we're going to mention. So next, other than just having the frequency and be able to practice that lift, is you want to be practicing that lift in certain percentage ranges. So if you're trying to test your 1 rep max, your 100%, doing all your work in like 60, 70, even 75% range is not going to be as effective as if you start doing some heavier training. So you have to look at the program and see, does it have any, multi-rep sets in the 80, 85, 90% range? Does it have any single rep set in the 90, 95, maybe up to 97.5% range? So those protocols are going to let you train with heavier weights, feel that heavier weight, get practice with your skill with those heavier weights, and prepare your body for 1 rep max testing. So you need to have that in that programming in order to improve your 1 rep max strength over time. And connected to that will be like, what is the finish to the program? If you're just doing 3 sets of 10 nonstop for 6, 8, 10 weeks, then it's not going to be as effective compared to if you are reducing the volume, if you are reducing the number of reps per set, if you are increasing intensity, and then you have a proper peak at the end in order to prepare you for a competition or 1 rep max testing in the gym. So you want to be training with heavier and heavier weights and then have a taper in there to allow your body to recover so you can be fully recovered on the day you want to test. So you want to make sure that your program has that in order to maximize what you're capable of doing on the day that you're testing. Now, if you are following a program that does have bodybuilding style training in, or the focus is on gaining muscle mass, that's not inherently bad. You still want, as a beginner, to focus on muscle mass. So that's the next tip, is as a beginner, you still want to continue to put on more muscle mass on your body. Because if you're a beginner, most likely you haven't filled out your body and you have more potential to put on more muscle mass. And then that more muscle mass has the potential to put on more strength. So you don't want to completely neglect it. It's just we're shifting the focus a little bit when it comes to programming, that if you're 100%, let's say bodybuilding style and muscle mass and 0% strength and powerlifting peaking for a competition, then you want to shift that over. So maybe you shift over to where you're like 50% focused on peaking for a competition and doing those lower rep work, but you still have 50% that's going to be focused on doing the higher volume so you can be able to put on more muscle mass. The other thing when it comes to putting on more muscle mass is the nutrition side. So you have to make sure you're in a caloric surplus. You don't want to be going through the hypertrophy phase or even the entire training cycle being in a caloric deficit. It's going to be very difficult for you to be able to put on more muscle mass while you're doing that kind of training in a caloric deficit. So being in that caloric surplus is going to let you put on more muscle mass, not put on as much body fat, let you fill out your body and be able to have more muscle on your pecs, your front delts, and your triceps in order to have that potential to have a stronger bench press. And to be able to build that potential and actually realize that potential, that's where the other side of the program comes, doing the higher intensity training and properly peaking your body and getting that practice with the actual competition lift so you're ready to go for the competition. But you definitely don't want to be one of those beginners who just, stays in a caloric maintenance or a deficit, or maybe doesn't even track their calories and then wonders why their bench is not getting stronger and why they're not putting on more muscle mass. You want to be strategic and be able to track your calories, get yourself in a small surplus, put on more muscle mass, follow that improved programming, and then you'll be able to realize those gains. The other aspect of it is going to be to improve your technique. Now, just because you improved your programming and you have the competition bench press in there and you're practicing in multiple rep ranges doesn't mean your technique is going to necessarily improve. improve. It gives you more chances to improve your technique, but if you're not actually focused on it or don't know how to improve your technique, then you're just going to be doing bad technique for more and more reps and sets and different weights and everything like that. So you want to be mindful of your technique, be able to video it, analyze it, see what things you need to work on, and then improve on those things over time. And there's going to be two different parts when it comes to technique. There's going to be the technique you need in order to get a white light in a competition if you plan on doing a powerlifting competition. So those are going to be things like making sure if your federation says your head has to be down the bench or if you have to be flat on the floor, that you're following those. For every federation, your butt has to stay on the bench. You want to make sure you're following that. Whether you have to use a full grip or if you're allowed to use suicide grip, you want to make sure you're following those rules. And then when it comes to the pause on the chest, you don't want to be doing all touch and go bench and then doing a pause bench for the very first time at the competition. You want to actually be working on that and focusing on trying to be as tight as possible and getting the bar motionless as fast as possible so you can get a faster press command, and then your bench press will be able to pass a competition. Then the second part of that's going to be how can you make your bench press more efficient? So while your lift may pass in the competition, it may not be very efficient, it may be very sloppy if you're just dropping the bar on you have no tightness, those kind of things. So then you want to be looking into how can you make yourself more efficient? How can you build a bigger arch and pull up your chest? How can you pull your feet back and get more leg drive? How can you have a more controlled descent and be able to get a good pause on your chest? How can you make sure you have the right bar path on the way up and you're keeping your elbows stacked underneath the bar? All those little things are going to make you more efficient and be able to produce more force that's going to be pushed into the bar, pushing in the right direction, and be able to lift more weight. So now you may be thinking, all right, Aaron, you have me convinced I'm going to be working on all those things, but I'm not sure how to improve some of these things. Like, how do I actually improve my leg drive? What is my correct starting position for me for bench press? And so you may have some more questions now than you did at the start of this video, but don't worry, I got you. I have a full bench press tips playlist right here, and it's going to have plenty of videos for you to improve your technique and everything else like that when it comes to bench press to make sure you improve your bench press strength. So hop on over to that bench press tips playlist next and make sure to binge those videos. And I'll catch you guys next time.